Yep. Okay. So what's up? I'm Austin Griffith. I build lots of tools and education for Ethereum. I'm always thinking about how developers are coming into the space. Do they have tools? Do they get the right education? Things are complex, and trying to make it easier for people to understand, not just like getting the syntax, but what smart contracts are good for, and just getting the mental model and understanding how to ask the right questions. So today I'm going to be showing off scaffold-eth and then kind of where to go from there. So scaffold-eth is this repo here. You can just Google scaffold-eth and you will land here at this GitHub repo. You'll fire up, it runs on hard hat right now, so you fire up yarn chain, you do a yarn start, and it brings up this front end. And then you kind of get in this pattern of doing local deployments and tinkering with your smart contract. You'll notice as I yarn deploy here, this address updates. See how I'm kind of like redeploying tons of contracts here. But that helps you kind of tinker with your smart contract. So I have just like this kind of greeter style smart contract here. There's a string, a function to set the purpose. And then after I deploy it, I get that interface there in the front end. So it helps you like test your assumptions. Like if you go into a smart contract and you totally understand how it's going to be built, maybe, I don't know, it's like test-driven development. Like I don't do test-driven development because I don't know exactly what I'm going to build yet, and I have to get in and prototype and tinker with it, and this is really good for doing something like that. I was going to do some more coding, but I feel like it would be like one-handed coding while I hold the mic, so I probably won't do a whole lot of coding, but let's tinker with it a little bit. So here's the front end. It uses burner wallets, and we'll get into that in a second, but I can just say like hello world here, right? And I can kind of call that function and update that value. That's kind of weird. And it kind of helps me tinker with my smart contracts. So let's do something like bring in the ownable. Let's try this. And then let's do another deploy. And we should see that show up in the front end with those new properties, right? We should see, oh wait, I have to say is ownable. Here we go. With one hand. Yeah. Oh no, I don't. You think so? Oh man, no. Okay, thank you so much, AVSA. I'll do it. Okay, so what do we need? We need to make this ownable. Hit save, redeploy it, and you're just kind of like testing your assumptions and trying things out. There's really like, I don't know, Solidity is complicated, and getting in, I mean, the syntax isn't complicated, but the idea of what you're building is complicated. So you kind of need to tinker around and try things, and this is really good for that. So notice how now we have like a transfer ownership, and we have some owner here, and that's just from like, bringing in ownable, we have those extra things now. So if we wanted to, I don't know, let's see, what can I do with one hand here? Let me write actually like just like a quick token or something, just so we have it. So let's see. Let's make a mapping, right, of some address to some uint. Public balance. Oh, it's trying to correct. That's great. Yes, that's what I want. Oh man. Okay, so now we have balances, and then let's create a transfer function, right, to transfer those balances. Let's see if it just figures out if I start saying transfer. Not quite. Some address to, some uint 256 amount. There we go. Oh, look at this. Whatever this function is, I want the whole thing. Give that to me. Yes. Okay, there we go. That's a lot easier. So let's see. What are we doing here? We make sure that we have the right balance. I'm actually not even going to do that because we're using Solidity 8, so it'll just overflow and throw an error. Yeah, so when you transfer a token, what do? You subtract the amount from the you add the amount to the send. Looks like they threw, I don't want it to return anything. Oh, what did I do? Okay, so now we've written a small like token, right? We have mappings for balances, we have a transfer function, and you as the developer, you're just in here kind of tinkering around, trying this stuff out. It's a great way for someone to kind of learn just the mental model by tinkering with stuff. So it looks like we have a balance of 0. Maybe we want to, in the constructor, set the balance of maybe this dude right here to 100 or something. 1,000 sounds good. Okay, and then let's deploy it. So you're just kind of like you pull down scaffold-eth and you get in this like routine of just kind of like tinkering and trying things, adding things here, and then seeing them in the front end and tinkering with them over here. So now do we have 1,000 here? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so scaffold-eth is a good tool for just helping you prototype. Getting prototypes into the hands of your users is like the most important part, and scaffold-eth will help you like ship those things quickly, but it's also you kind of like learn validity as you go through it, and help like test those assumptions. So let's see, we've got our app built, we've got some token, and this guy has 1,000. Maybe let's send some around. So if I open up an incognito window, this is going to show off the burner wallets that are built in. You'll notice I have a different address here. If I do that again, I'm going to have a different address, right? This blue dude right here, right? So let's grab some funds from the faucet. Let's go to debug contracts. Let's check their balance. 0, right? So if I copy this dude's address and I paste in, where's our transfer function? Let's transfer to this person. And notice how it gives you like that nice blocky preview. The guy who invented the blockies is sitting here. Isn't that cool? And let's just send 50 of our tokens, right? And this is way, right? I just sent 50 way worth. And if we go over here and check this dude's address again, this dude should have 50, right? Okay, cool. So we're kind of like figuring out how our app is going to work. We've built like a little currency or something. We can kind of test. Let's say there's a require statement that like only the owner can set this purpose. I can get in as the owner and I can set the purpose, like I could call that function, but then I can get in as this second kind of incognito window. It's just like a second account and I can test that out. Whenever we're writing something that's like, only owner is a good example. You have like a function that only the owner can call. You spend 5 minutes writing the function, and then you spend another 20 minutes writing the test to test the function just to get it to work. And a lot of times with scaffold-eth, you can just skip the testing at first and just test it kind of raw. Just try it, like create an account and bang on it and see if the contract does what you want it to do. So it's great for prototyping and just kind of like rapidly trying things and seeing how they work. So yeah, that's the burner wallet in there. It's basically like a private key and local storage, and it's really great for development. But as soon as you deploy this thing, you'll connect to your MetaMask or other wallet connect wallet. Okay, so yep. Yes, you can bring in multiple contracts here, and you can set up this contract component to be multiple contracts. Like you can have like this contract interface for multiple contracts. It's just a React component. So you would like add another contract and you need to add in that contract component and point it at the contract and everything will work. Yep. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm not going to write a lot of code. I was going to write some more code, but let's actually deploy this thing somewhere else. So you work through your app, you kind of tinker with your smart contract, then it's time to kind of like build out some kind of UI, and you can do that here. So here's that like contract component. I can even find it here. Yeah, there it is right there. So that's the thing that you would duplicate. Whoops. But let's go look at the example UI. So as you're building out, you end up needing kind of more of a front end and kind of building out your front end as you go. It's nice to have this like auto-adapting component here, but then you don't want your users to have to do that. You don't want your user to have to like type in 50 and then take it times 10 to the 18 or whatever, right? That stuff needs to be hidden eventually. So you'll build that into your app as you go, and there's a nice example UI here that just takes you through, like how to have a component in, or track some state variable, how to have like an input that changes that, how to have a button that calls some function on your smart contract. So it just helps you to prototype and kind of figure things out and tinker around and get a handle for what you want to build. And then your kind of app is kind of auto-adapting, but then you'll build out a little bit of an app, but then it's time to deploy something, right? So let's put something out in production first we're gonna yarn generate. Okay, and that's gonna create a local deploy mnemonic, right? And then we need to fund that. So if I do a yarn account, it should give me a nice little QR code here. Okay, where are we deploying this thing? What network should I go to? Maybe Kovan or something? So I'm going to use a burner wallet, Punk Wallet. So punkwallet.io is something that's built with scaffold-eth. It's a fast, easy wallet for sending small amounts of funds. Perfect for this, where I can just kind of like scan this code and send this dude, you know, like one ETH of Kovan, maybe $100 worth of Kovan. Okay, I'm going to assume that's going to work, and then let's go yarn deploy this thing. So we've generated a local mnemonic, we've funded it, and now we want to yarn deploy. Ooh, mainnet? Let's go Kovan. Hoping that's sent. Let's see if this deploys to Kovan. So the second part of this, there's kind of two sides to it. You want to deploy your contract, but then you need to deploy a front end also, right? It's about, I like to sit in a 1 hour session and create a smart contract and the front end for it and give someone a URL where they can go visit that smart contract. So we've deployed the contract. Then I'm going to do a yarn build, and that will take a little bit, but let's get it started. And what we need to do is switch our app over to Kovan, right? So if we go look at our app, it's still pointed at localhost. All of these links go to, I guess on localhost it goes to Etherscan, but if we were on like, oh here, let me set it to Kovan. It'll make more sense here. So let's select Kovan, and then the whole app will auto change over to Kovan. So now our app is on Kovan, and if I click this link here, see all the addresses and everything now are going to the Kovan Etherscan. So switching your app from localhost to public network mainnet is as easy as just like switching that one flag, and your whole front end comes along with it. So this will take a little bit to build, but then we'll have basically, I'll be able to push this out to a URL, and anyone from their phone could get on here, and I don't even know. We didn't really build anything, so I didn't write any code, but you could transfer around that token like that. Get a prototype. Oh, did I mess something up? Oh, pull it up here. Got it. Sorry. Oh, and yarn surge. So I'm going to upload this thing, and we will have deployed a smart contract and an app to go with it. Scarce wealth. That's a cool ancient worm. Oh man, all of these are taken. Okay, I'm gonna have to just give it lucky celery ETH CC. Fantastic. There's no way that one's taken. and there we go. So now there's a URL that anyone can go to. Had I had two hands, I probably would have written a little bit more interesting smart contract, but I'll leave that to you guys. You guys can be the creative builders. It's just a really easy tool to get something out into production and something that someone can use quickly, and it does a lot of stuff for you. So like if we go to this address now, and let's connect our MetaMask, and let's have it on the wrong network, for instance. So actually, it probably just is going to be on the wrong network. Wait, why does that say localhost? Oh no, oh no. I didn't, shoot. Okay, I would have to rebuild it on Kovan. I should do that real quick anyways, just to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to localhost because I didn't have that version switched over. But imagine we're at the URL right now and this is uploaded. When I connect my wallet, I get this nice little warning that, hey, you know, your wallet needs to be on Kovan and not mainnet, and a nice little button that helps me switch that over. Things that, like, if you're building an app, it has to have that. Like, you have to have a network warning or some kind of dialogue so people don't make mainnet transactions on an Optimism app or something like that. And at first you're like, oh yeah, you know, I'll get to that stuff eventually. It's so nice to have that built in with that you don't have to worry, just kind of built into your app, and you can focus on, you know, I want to build a smart contract that does X and not have to worry about all those little things. So there we go. So that's basically how you can build apps with scaffold-eth. You can go to scaffold-eth, the GitHub repository. If you just Google scaffold-eth, you'll find that. And I want to talk more about like kind of next steps, like where you go from here. This is great for tinkering, but it's actually, a lot of people are putting things into production now that are like production level apps with scaffold-eth. So it's not just for prototyping. People are putting a lot of production level apps out. And I want to like just make sure that that's like, that people know that there's like, it's hard to take anything because we don't like have a lot of practice. It's something that you can fork and take, and it's free and it's MIT licensed. So I don't have like a lot of analytics, but I do have this like RPC that kind of like lets me know what people are using, and I can go to like, here's a random project. Yeah, see, this looks dope. You can tell that it is using scaffold-eth, but just barely. And they were able to create some kind of, looks like some kind of NFT project, right? But they just forked scaffold-eth, they set up their minting page, they styled it up, and they deployed it. If they would have built this from scratch, it would have taken them a lot longer, right? So you can build production level apps with scaffold-eth, just hammering that home. Okay, here we go. So you know Web 2 people, if you are a developer, if you know how to code or you know people who know how to code, but they don't know Web 3, they don't know what Ethereum is good at yet, tell them to Speedrun Ethereum. So Speedrun Ethereum is a curriculum that I wrote using scaffold-eth after tons and tons of mentorship sessions. I got on tons of Zoom calls and just had that one-on-one and asked those questions and see what resonates. And then I built this curriculum around that. The first challenge, uh-oh. Yeah, sure. Check. The first challenge, so the challenge 0 is just like building an NFT and launching it. You hardly have to write any code, but this first challenge, you have to write the smart contract. And it's teaching you what Ethereum is good at. It's showing you kind of what a trust minimized app looks like, how to build a staking app. It gets you thinking of it in terms of like a state machine, and we're in like the deposit state. And then we check to see if we got enough money deposited. And if so, we go into a success state or a failure state. And you don't want people to be able to like grief each other or steal each other's money. So it's just like, that's like a perfect way to start learning Ethereum and what Ethereum is good at. You'll get the syntax right away, right? Like a decent programmer can pick up the syntax for smart contracts in like a couple of sittings, right? But understanding how to apply that is a whole different battle. And that's what Speedrun Ethereum is about, is teaching you the mental model of like what works and what doesn't, and what kind of things you can build and what kind of things you don't want to build. So we'll go through a staking app. We'll go through a token vendor where you build. This teaches you like contract to contract interaction. This teaches you the approve pattern for ERC20s. Kind of teaches you how tokens work. Then we have a dice game. So this teaches you about randomness, right? Randomness is really tricky on a public deterministic blockchain. So we look at how you could use block hash. We kind of hint at how you can use block difficulty here pretty soon. We even made a dice game on Ropsten that uses the new block difficulty, which is kind of fun, but it's mostly to teach you about randomness and how it can be gamed in certain situations, and if you want to use VRF versus commit reveal versus using a block hash. So that's where that end. Then things get really serious. So these first 3 are very like automated, and you turn them in, and we just have like an auto grader. But once it gets down to challenge 4, things are a little more subjective, and there's like a cohort of people building in Telegram, and you learn how to build a DEX, right? It's definitely like a DEX you can attack. Like there's no like slippage protection or anything like that. It's just like there's a price function. You go token to ETH or ETH to token, but that's really good for a developer. Like don't put this DEX into production, but it's a really good way for you to learn how an AMM works. And then we'll go to the BuidlGuidl. I'll talk about that in a second, but some further challenges. The multi-sig, right? Building a multi-sig wallet is just like a signature-based multi-sig wallet. So it teaches people how to like sign messages, how to recover, like EC recover in Solidity. It teaches you just like a better way to store your crypto, right? You should probably not have it all in a seed phrase on your phone. You should probably have a multi-sig wallet, use lots of different signers. And then an SVG NFT. That was a fun one. I always try to, once developers get this far, they're sort of like almost ready, but not quite ready to create a product, so they're still tinkering around. I always tell them to go deploy like a low-limit SVG and FT and let me ape into it, and that's a good way for me to support them. Okay, so Speedrun Ethereum. That's the most important thing I want to meme into this room is that if you want to learn or you know people that want to learn, tell them to go Speedrun Ethereum. It's a very straightforward, easy, open source curriculum that anybody can go to. So next steps. So you got scaffold-eth. You can prototype quickly. You can tinker around. If you want to learn how it works, you can go to Speedrun Ethereum. You can learn how Ethereum works and what works well on Ethereum. And then there's the BuidlGuidl. So scaffold-eth, Speedrun Ethereum, and then like BuidlGuidl is kind of the incentivization wrapper around all of that. This is me streaming ETH to developers to build cool things for the ecosystem, basically. So we maintain scaffold-eth, but we also like build all sorts of like weird prototypes, and these are all developers, like builders that have come through the curriculum, and instead of going, to work somewhere or to build another product, which is a big win for me, they stuck around and want to help contribute back to scaffold-eth and other ecosystem things. So this is just like, these are a bunch of each one of these is a smart contract that's streaming to each one of these people. They can get in here and they can turn in builds. Nope, I don't see any builds there. Let me find somebody that has a good set of builds. Let's go to Bliss's. Oh man. There we go. Okay, so this is just this is one of the builders in the BuidlGuidl, and this is all of their builds. They start to craft a Web3 portfolio of all the things that they've created. So as you go through the speedrun, as you learn scaffold-eth, you can then like join the BuidlGuidl and kind of build interesting. This is like a retro PGF ERC 721, right? A cool NFT for public goods. Yeah, we're working on this poets and poems. It's like an order book system, but it's poets and patrons. So you like write a poem and then someone grabs that poem and puts it on chain and they're like your patron or something. It's supposed to teach you about order books. But yeah, okay, so, and then this is what Bliss is withdrawn from, right? So Bliss's streaming smart contract is streaming him, looks like 1 ETH a month or so, and he turns in the work as he builds it, and it's pretty trust-based, and at first it was all my own crypto, but I'm kind of down bad now, so huge thanks to the Ethereum Foundation for supporting scaffold-eth, Speedrun Ethereum, and the BuidlGuidl. This time last year I was in here like running out of money, using all my own money to stream to all these developers, and so there's been a big change between last year and this year that I've got a lot of support from the EF now, and it's been really helpful. So huge shout out to the EF there. Let's see, so what other cool things can I show with scaffold-eth? So lots of things are being built with scaffold-eth. You saw that RPC over there where I could see weird random builds that people were building. But this is one that I built. So I built this with my buddy Adam, and it's a great way to show onboarding. Here, let me do this. Let me do the incognito window again, right? So imagine you have just like a tablet, right? If you go to nifty.inc on your tablet, you are gonna get a burner wallet generated for you. It's gonna create a local mnemonic. Notice we have this new account here, right? So you don't know anything about crypto, you're just an artist, you wanna do something cool. You get in here, you hit create, and you draw something. I'm gonna draw like a tree or something. Boop, 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 boop. Maybe get some brown in there. Oh yeah, nice tree, very nice tree. Okay, so I don't have any crypto, right? I don't even hardly know what an account is, but I've just gotten in here and I've created some art. And so now I would like this tree to be minted, and it's gonna mint it on Gnosis chain, but it upgrades to mainnet. Let's see if this works. Sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't, but basically what's gonna happen is it's gonna use the burner wallet that it generated for me, and it's gonna sign a meta transaction, and I'm gonna pay the gas for it. So as the artist, you don't know anything about crypto, you just get in here and you make this beautiful tree. And now it's minted as an NFT, and you can kind of like watch me draw it all you want, right? And that's all on chain. IPFS, sorry. The drawing is recorded and stored in IPFS, and the IPFS hash is stored in the smart contract. The thing that I want to show off here is this onboarding, though. So I'm an artist, don't know anything about it. I just draw this cool tree, and now I can put this tree on sale. Oh, it's not loading. I can put this tree on sale and say it's like a 2 of 2 NFT. Let's say I put it on sale for $10. All of a sudden, I come in here the next day, and I've got $10 in my account. Now I'm much more incentivized to figure out how to protect that and understand how a seed phrase works. And now I'm like, it's kind of flipping the onboarding, right? Instead of you have to know your 12-word seed phrase and you have to do all this work up front before you can even interface with apps. In this case, you've created an NFT first, and if it's valuable and interesting to other people and they buy into it, then you're kind of, yeah, it flips it around, and now you're incentivized to figure out how to protect that money. So this is just one example of how burner wallets are actually useful in production. A lot of times you don't use that burner wallet feature in production, but this is a good example of where you would do that. Okay, a next really interesting one that is built with scaffold-eth that we did is the Punk wallet. So the Punk wallet is a burner wallet. It has what is it? It has a mnemonic in local storage. I think it just has a private key in local storage, no mnemonic. And you can kind of put it on any of these different networks, and you can quickly send value around. So if you go to Punk wallet on your phone, you'll have that nice, kind of Punk there. And if I scan, let's show this. If I scan this dude, so you can see he's kind of like a little zombie. Oh no, not OBS. That's not gonna work. Okay, nope. I would have to trash OBS. And what I want to show is that when I scan, here, I can do this. Vitalik.eth. Let's say I was hanging out with Vitalik and I just scanned his QR code. I'm going to see a little picture here. And so it gives this like Punk identity to your wallet, and it helps you kind of like explain to folks or quickly move things around, quickly move funds around. You can even like wallet connect in. So you can use this same scanner button to scan someone's QR code, but you can also use it to scan a wallet connect code and start interfacing with an app. So basically, like, I have, a small amount of ETH in a mnemonic or in a private key on local storage, and it works on my phone, and I could like wallet connect into Uniswap and swap some tokens just using the Punk wallet, wallet connect, and then whatever app I'm using. And this is super open source, like not just open source, but it's like very forkable. If you wanted to build a wallet, you can fork this, and it's going to get you a lot closer to having a finished product. And that's what we're trying to push with BuidlGuidl, with Speedrun Ethereum, with scaffold-eth. We want to see lots of products that are forkable that other people can get, and not just open source, but like very forkable. So let me go to actually I'll go to BuidlGuidl and I'll scroll down here. I think I have a link. Yeah, scaffold-eth examples. Okay, so there's like, oh, it's not here. There's like thousands of forks of scaffold-eth, and we realized people were making lots of starter kits with it. So we wanted to really like lean into that. So you can go to scaffold-eth examples and find just like so many different things. Let me just type NFT in here. Yeah, so many cool like an aging NFT. How dope is that? Like an NFT that the image gets older over time, right? You could go here, you could fork that and have your own aging NFT, or an Aave app, or an airdropper. All sorts of, like so many different forks. So if you're thinking about building something, come look in these scaffold-eth examples, and you might find something that'll get you closer to having your product. Okay, so let me just open it up. Anybody have any questions? I think it might be good to like talk through things or something. Anybody have questions about this so far? Any? No questions? Okay. Let's see. So we've got next steps. We talked about BuidlGuidl. Okay, so BuidlGuidl is a Wyoming DAO too. This is another thing we're tinkering with. So we're a registered LLC, Wyoming DAO LLC. So it's a Wyoming DAO LLC, and it's basically a multi-sig, but it's a DAO. It's a 4 out of 7 multi-sig, and the EF funds the BuidlGuidl, and then the BuidlGuidl DAO funds all these developer streams. So as you see these streams here, these are all smart contracts. We use the DAO multi-sig to distribute funds across all those streams. So it's just another fun random thing we're working on here is this DAO. Let's see, what other things? Usually I write more code and it takes longer to do my scaffold-eth demo, so I am usually not done early, but I'm kind of done early here. There's probably some cool things I could show off too. But
plans on making it sustainable, like if Ethereum Foundation stops funding BuidlGuidl, how do you?
yeah, not really. Like BuidlGuidl is kind of like, it's kind of like a subset. So the way I view BuidlGuidl is it's not like my main gig. It's kind of like, it's a cross section of developers in the space, right? But I have like a more intimate connection with them, and I can ask them and I can see what tools they're using and what problems they're having. So for me, like BuidlGuidl is kind of like a canary in the coal mine kind of thing, where it's like my testing subset of developers that helps me understand what all the other developers in the space are running into. So if BuidlGuidl did go away, it wouldn't be like a huge thing, right? So yeah, it would be great to make it sustainable though. But then we start talking about, do we have a token or something? And then that's like, that's scary to me. I don't want to do that right now. So yeah. I would say that like it would be great to make it a self-sustaining entity and have that work. And I think the way we would do that if we were going to is through partnerships with organizations. So there's tons of people getting hired out of the BuidlGuidl to go work at Aave and all sorts of good organizations in the space. I could probably tap them and be like, hey, you got 5 of our developers, like you guys start paying some money back to BuidlGuidl, and then that would be a way I could make it more sustainable, I think. Yeah, let's see. Any other questions on scaffold-eth? Any questions on BuidlGuidl or Speedrun Ethereum?
Scaffold-eth, that part of the custom contract. What you're doing is that you're scanning the contract. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it hits the ABI.
So yeah, you scan the contract and then you see the read methods that you have and the write methods, and then you build basically an interface that it will automatically adapt depending on the reads and the writes that you have, the functions that you have and the read functions that you have. So you can have as many functions as you want and the front end will adapt to it, right?
Exactly, yes. Let's just throw a counter in here, right? With one hand. So I just put a counter in, right? And I can go ahead and just yarn deploy that, and then that will show up over here. We'll have a new counter value. Uh-oh, I broke it. Oh, gotta have a semicolon. Come on, man. There we go. Okay, so now that, you're right, like you can add in functions, you can add in new variables, and it helps you as the developer kind of just like learn how this all works. A lot of times I find myself, I have Solidity by example up, basically, and I just go through, I need to remember how to send ETH. I'll go over here and I'll go to the send ether and I'll scroll down here and I'll find that weird line that does call to send value, and I'll copy paste that into my contract, right? So I do a lot of just like tinkering where I'm grabbing things from Solidity by example or grabbing things from examples, pasting them into scaffold-eth, and then just seeing them show up in this interface. Where's our counter? Where is it? Did it get deployed? Oh wait, we're on Kovan. I need to switch the app back to localhost to make that work. So yeah, key things from this talk is if you know a developer or you are a developer and you're looking to get in, or you have an organization where you're bringing in new developers, it's really common to see Web3 organizations bringing in Web2 developers, and then sometimes those developers go through some kind of internal curriculum, or they just have to learn how to build. You can just use Speedrun Ethereum for that. Bring developers into your org and send them to Speedrun Ethereum, and in a week they will have gone through a ton of stuff. And sometimes it takes longer than a week, depends on the developer, but they'll get just a much better understanding of what Ethereum is good at and what we're building here. Man, where's my counter? Let's see. Did it? I think there it is. There's the counter. Okay, so then if we wanted to make like a function here, we could do like an increment function, right? Oh, I bet like inc, right? And we'll make it public. And what's it gonna do? Oh, it wants to do balances. No. We want to do counter. I love how it like auto auto fills in stuff here. We want what? Counter plus plus, right? Classic first smart contract example, build a little counter that increments. Let's go ahead and deploy it. And then, yeah, so we're parsing that ABI so you get like live feedback on how it works. Now there's an increment function, right? Now there's this new increment function with a button. I can just tap that button and we see the counter increment. So it just gives you like instant feedback and helps you test things and learn things. Obviously, eventually you probably want to build a mature testing setup of your contract. But at first you're just kind of like tinkering around. You don't need to build like a bunch of advanced tests just to see how something might work, and maybe it's something you throw away. A lot of folks they use it just to try and figure out how they want their smart contract to look. Even like professional, we were talking about like Juicebox started with scaffold-eth, and Django talks about how it's just like, it was really easy for him to tinker and figure out what he wanted his contract to do using scaffold-eth. It helps them get like validation that they have product market fit. A lot of things you can get kind of just like out of the box with scaffold-eth. You can try things and prototype things quickly. So yeah, there's our counter. There's clicking away. Any other questions? Anything else?
I had a follow-up before.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, I just want to understand as well, because you use a lot hard hat, right? And I'm guessing you use Ether.js.
Yep.
Is there any other sort of tool that you're using that you have not mentioned? Because, for example, I did one time the NFT example, and then you also use IPFS in there. But I don't know, for example, I'm guessing because I see it there that you have other examples with Subgraph, right? So when you go through Speedrun Ethereum, at the end of the course, like, how many tools or what tools have you introduced to the students, right?
That's a good question. I think you covered most of them there. Yeah, you go through Ethers.js, you learn providers and signers and all of that. You do IPFS, but kind of just lightly, just so you learn that's like, oh, this is content addressable, and that means it's immutable, and how to pin things, like kind of a simple layer over it, but not a like in-depth learning, right? Let's see, what else do we cover? That's a good question. Yeah, there's a little bit of graph in here. There's like a subgraph where you kind of switch from parsing your events to having, a subgraph in the middle. I don't know what other technology. I'm like blanking on anything else. I think you covered most of them there. And we do use hard hat right now, but I do envision a Foundry version of scaffold-eth pretty soon. I think that's something that just like Foundry and Rainbow Kit are pretty hot right now, and I feel like we want to have the new hotness for developers, right? What was your question, ABSA?
Do you have a place do you have somewhere to do translations for Speedrun Ethereum?
We don't. That was, yeah. It's only in English, but we should. That is definitely something we should do. What language would we start with, do you think? Don't know. Chinese? Spanish? Spanish? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we should definitely do that. I think okay, like the Ethereum.org team has a good translator and a translating team, so I wonder if I could just go through them to do that. I'll think about it for sure. Good call. Anything else? What's that? Oh no. What? I mean, like I'm pretty much done anyway, so it's all good. I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah. Any last questions? Anything else? Oh yeah, here.
What are you using to get the autofill in your code editor?
Why am I using it?
No, what are you using?
Oh, that's what is that? Copilot from GitHub. Okay. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny because it tries to like write the function for you, right?
Yeah,
Did you notice that? It's super
amazing.
wild. Yeah.
I need that.
Yeah. It's like I could imagine it like it's a for loop and something awesome, but like something simple, but like seeing it like try to write the solidity for me is kind of mind-boggling. It's pretty cool. Any other questions? I'm Austin Griffith on Twitter. You can run me down. DMs are open. Reach out anytime. This dude right here. Hit me up if you have questions. Build some stuff. Like basically the call to action here is Speedrun Ethereum. Want to be very clear. Like go Speedrun Ethereum, go through it. Even if you're a great developer, you're a great smart contract developer already, it's such a fun tool and such a good, like getting a good understanding of what's cool in the space, to just go through it. You'll enjoy it, and you'll pop out on the other side a better builder. Awesome. Any other questions?
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.